Alrighty, get this party started doing my review and install on this Flexalite fan and fan controller into my old hot rod. Part numbers on this fan: this is a 3300 CFM fan. Part number 104367. This is the fan controller, variable speed. Part number 107012. I'll put that in the video description too. But yeah, I'm just going to start working on my install on this fan, and I didn't find a lot of info on the interwebs about it, so I figured I'd make a review. Going to replace my old one. This is a Flexalite, since going to a 408 stroker, and I want to get my AC going. This one heat creeps a little bit. The shroud isn't quite big enough for the radiator. Yeah, so I'm going to this one. That was a 2800 CFM. This is 3300. The shroud's a lot bigger, so it's going to pull more air through it. So I think that's going to be cool. This pulse width modulated fan controller will toggle this fan on starting at 60% and will cycle up to 100% depending upon what the coolant temperature is. It does have a little adjustable screw in there, so you can dial in the temp setting for where it turns on and off at. And I opted for and would definitely recommend getting the one with the actual temp sender that threads into your intake manifold that you can thread into the cooling system itself, rather than the janky little ones with the temperature probe that go in the radiator. I don't like those. I had one and it sucked. What would happen with the temperature probe style that go in your radiator is that as you're driving down the highway, all that hot air, it gets pushed into the temperature probe, and so it kicks the fan on. And then when you're sitting there putzing through a parade on a hot day, there isn't enough heat sinking into that temperature probe to really turn it on. So it effectively, I mean, did it prevent it from overheating? Yeah, but it kind of does the exact opposite of what you want it to do. When you're driving on the highway, you have enough airflow coming in your grill to cool the thing. Generally speaking, on most vehicles, there's exceptions to the rule, but we're not talking about the exceptions, we're talking about the rule. Then when you're in town, you're idling and you know, putzing through a parade, whatever. Yeah, there's not enough airflow to heat up that temperature probe, and then the thing heat creeps. So it kind of turns the fan on opposite of what you need it to do. So my experience with both types, definitely go with the kind that goes into the cooling system, because you get a lot more accurate switching and on and off of your cooling fan, because you're taking a direct measurement from your coolant temperature, not, you know, kind of just an arbitrary reading of what the air temperature might be between your radiator fins. So that's that. I'll get off my podium and I'll get to the install and review of this bad boy. All right, so here's my setup all installed. It looks nice in here. It works really good. Been happy with it. I just trimmed these brackets down a little bit so they could hook the edge of the radiator nice and then bolt up. The bottom side looks exactly the same as the top side here. I mounted the fan controller itself is mounted right on the radiator shroud, along with the maxi fuse for the cooling fan. I did get a heavy duty weather pack connector. I just got it on eBay. It was listed as like a 45 amp connector for electric cooling fans. That way I can just disconnect this connector, the ones down here on the fan controller module, and then I can unbolt that complete radiator fan assembly and pull it out of there, rather than, you know, if I need to take these out to work on the engine, say, I don't have to cut wires and splice and deal with any of that. So make your stuff serviceable, because then next time you need to work on it, you'll be thanking yourself. Couple notes I did want to mention for the coolant temperature sensor that hooks up to the fan controller over there. In the instructions, it says you're not supposed to extend the wiring harness for that coolant temp sender. You can. There's no reason you can't. You can just do a good splice connection, like heat shrink butt connectors, or solder them together, extend your wires. then I can run my harness all the way through and over to my fan controller and not have a little janky section of wiring like dangling in front of my cooling fan and around the belt drive and stuff. Not how I would do it, but it works fine. You can extend that harness. They say you can't, but there's no reason you can't. Secondly, they said to hook up for the AC input to turn the cooling fan on when you turn your AC on. They said to hook it up to your AC compressor clutch power wire or ground wire, depending upon how the system's wired. I didn't do that for a couple reasons. Your AC compressor clutch will cycle on and off on a lot of AC systems. Some of them they don't, some of them they do. So you don't want your cooling fan randomly turning on and off with the compressor clutch. You want your cooling fan to stay running all the time, to always be drawing air through this condenser so that you get that heat removed from your condenser. Otherwise, your AC is going to start getting warm inside. What I did, I tapped into my low pressure switch power. So as soon as you push the AC button on your controller, boom, your electric cooling fan comes on. And that's how they used to do it in, like, say, the 1980s when they started going to electric cooling fans, but before they had ECMs to turn them on and off. So I did that. The second reason that's kind of nice, you can actually use your air conditioning as a manual fan override. So I turn my ignition on here. I turn my AC on. Boom. Fan's on. She's running. So it's a little bit of a perk that way too. It's a way you can always test the system to make sure it works if you want, or if for whatever reason something has an issue, you can manually turn your fan on if you want just by using your AC. So a couple reasons to hook it up that way. Yeah, I've been really happy with it. Next here we'll show you what it's like when the car is running. All right, so here's the fan in action. It's like about a 90-degree day. She's humming to beat hell. Engine's nice and cool though. Raytech. 190 degrees. So, super happy with it.